Hey everybody, welcome back to our series through the book of 1 Peter. We're here in chapter 5, and today I want to show you what the first 5 verses in this chapter are all about. We are getting near the end of our series through the book, but this passage is a really important text. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this text means. It's really kind of an easy text to organize. There are 3 parts to this passage. First, Peter addresses the elders in the church. That's verses 1 through 4. He says, "So I exhort the elders among you." So we'll label this section as the elders. Then Peter addresses the youth here in this verse. "Likewise, you who are younger." Okay, so we'll label this as the youth section. And then Peter addresses just everyone. "Clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility." Okay, so he addresses all here in these verses. Okay, so 3 basic sections: elders, youth, and then all Christians. And one of the best ways to really get to the heart of what a passage is all about is to look at the commands. So 3 sections, and there's 1 command in each section. So to the elders, Peter says, "Shepherd the flock of God that is among you, exercising oversight." That's the command to elders. Then to youth, he says, "Be subject to the elders." That's the command to the youth. And then finally, his command toward everyone is to clothe yourselves with humility toward one another. So 3 sections, 3 commands. Clear, simple way of just kind of understanding in a nutshell what this passage is all about. Now, we're going to talk about this first section. And the first question we have to ask as Peter addresses elders, he says, "So I exhort the elders among you," is who are the elders? Who is Peter talking about here? Well, there are 2 possibilities. One, Peter could just be addressing the elderly Christians who are advanced in age. That's one option, but I think that Peter is actually addressing men who are in the office of elder. In the church, there are elders and deacons. And oftentimes when you read the New Testament, you hear about the elders in a church. That's a pretty important category. When you read Paul, you come to places like Titus 1, where there's qualifications to be an elder. Not just any Christian who's advanced in age is an elder in this sense, but instead, certain Christians are qualified to be in the role of elder. In fact, in Titus 1, it talks about how elders were appointed in different places. So you can kind of see that this is a really big category in the New Testament, elders in a church. I think it's clear that Peter is addressing those who are in this position, those who have the office of elder, because of a couple reasons. One is that he tells the elders to shepherd the flock of God, and they're to exercise oversight. So he's not just addressing all elderly, but those who are to shepherd God's flock, those who actually have oversight. Notice again here in verse 3, it talks about those in your charge. That's talking about men in the church who have this position of being an elder. In the church, it's the elder's job to shepherd the flock. The word shepherd, the Greek word for shepherd is the word we use for the word pastor. So really, in a local church, it's the job of the elders to pastor the flock. It's not so much that there's a separate office called pastor. There's elders and deacons, and whose job is it to pastor the flock? Whose job is it to shepherd the flock? Well, here we see Peter's he's exhorting the elders, and he's saying, it's your job to shepherd. So I think it's clear that Peter is addressing not just the elderly, but he's addressing those who are in the office of elder. Okay. Peter is a unique person. He's a very special person, and he has a very unique perspective on the church. You just think about his life, and in verse 1, Peter kind of reminds his audience, his readers here, that here's why I have a place to speak into your life. He's saying, I'm exhorting the elders among you as, and he's going to list three things. And these are three things that tell us a little bit about who Peter is. Here's why he has a right to be exhorting the elders. Number one, he's a fellow elder. Now, that's a profound way for Peter to talk. That shows a lot of humility on his part, because he could have said, as an apostle, or other places refer to Peter in the New Testament as one of the pillars of the New Testament church. He could have said, as a pillar of the church. But no, you see, he actually kind of claims a lesser title here. He's like, hey, I'm an elder too. And Peter was an apostle, he was an elder, but he's saying, let me speak to the elders, because I'm an elder too in the church. And I think that's really profound. You see his humility. So he has a right to exhort other elders. I'm an elder too. Second, he has a right to exhort other elders because he was a witness of the sufferings of Christ. Peter was there when Jesus was arrested. Perhaps after Peter denied Christ, he even walked to the cross and saw Christ hanging there. Perhaps he witnessed that suffering of Christ. And as someone who witnessed the suffering of Christ, he has a unique place to be giving advice to Christians. Remember, by the way, the sufferings of Christ. So much of the book of 1 Peter, the theme has been, when you suffer, look to Christ. He's the one who suffered on our behalf. Another reminder there. Third reason Peter has a right to be exhorting other elders is he's saying, I'm going to be a partaker in the glory that's going to be revealed. When Jesus returns and God's glory is revealed, I'm going to be on the winning side. And so Peter's saying, as someone who is a fellow elder, a witness of Jesus' suffering, and someone who's going to be on the winning side when Jesus is returned, I'm exhorting you, elders. Whatever he's going to say next must be pretty important. Here's the command. We'll label this section as the command. Here's his exhortation. Shepherd the flock of God that is among you. Exercising oversight. You know, I think anyone who serves as an elder in the church should take these words seriously. Peter is saying, your responsibility is to shepherd the flock. Essentially, in a local church, what are elders supposed to do? They are the shepherds. Interestingly, when Jesus rose from the dead, do you remember what he told Peter? He said, feed my sheep. Elders are to shepherd the flock. How does an elder shepherd the flock of God? Well, elders shepherd the flock by teaching them God's word. Elders shepherd the flock by praying for those who are hurting or struggling. Elders shepherd the flock by refuting false teaching and guarding the sheep, guarding the church from false teaching. And elders are shepherding the flock when they do this. They exercise oversight. God has given a certain amount of authority to elders in the church, and they are to use that authority. Now, a lot of people kind of bristle at this idea of oversight or authority, but I just think we need to remember that when people use God-given authority in godly ways, that's a blessing to the church. That's a real blessing to the church. Imagine living in a world where there was no authority. Imagine going to a school where there was no authority. Imagine living in a city where there's crime, but there's no authorities that you can call. That's not a good situation. So authority is a God-given thing. It can be a good thing, but that raises the question, how? How do elders exercise authority in a godly way? And that's what these verses, these words are all about here. So I'm going to label this, how? How do elders exercise their authority? And let's look at it. Basically, Peter gives three instructions. 1, 2, 3. 3 phrases, not like this, but like that. And these 3 phrases are meant to kind of tell you, here's how elders are to exercise their authority in a godly way. So first, not under compulsion. Not under compulsion. An elder is not to take on the office of being an elder if he's guilted into it. That's no way to serve as an elder, is if you're feeling guilted into it. But instead, you're to do so willingly. That's how God would have an elder serve. I'm reminded of the verse that says, the Lord loves a cheerful giver. We might also say, the Lord loves a willing elder. Second, elders are not to serve for shameful gain. There's a lot of pastors out there who are using their position of authority in the church to enrich their own lives. They think, this is a way for me to get rich. And you see people like this on TV all the time. They're saying, hey, just donate to my ministry and God will bless you. That's shameful. That is shameful gain. And so elders don't exercise authority for shameful gain, but instead eagerly. You're to serve eagerly, willingly, even if it doesn't mean that you get lots of money. Third, not like this, not domineering over those in your charge. Domineering, that means using your authority to take advantage over those who are in your charge. Any person who has authority can use that authority in a wrong way. They can use their authority to take advantage of the people beneath them. They can use their authority to view the people they have authority as though they were beneath them. But that's just not the case. Instead, godly leaders serve those they're in authority over. Elders are not to do this. Elders are not to imagine that the church is there to serve them, that they're the shepherd, you're the flock, you guys are here to serve me. Elders are not to domineer. They're not to be bossy. They're not to boss others around and insist on their own way. That is no way to serve as an elder. Instead, elders are to serve as examples to the flock. Jesus came and he was the good shepherd and he set the example. He didn't come to be served, but to serve. Okay, so that's how elders serve. And then there's a reward. That's what verse 4 is all about, the reward. The reward. And when the chief shepherd appears, who's that? Well, that's Jesus. Jesus is the chief shepherd. Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. When he appears at the second coming, there's a blessing. There's a reward for those who serve as elders. You will receive the unfading crown of glory. And that's an encouraging thing, I think, for an elder to hear. There's a reward. Okay, that's what Peter says to the elders. Now Peter's going to address the youth. The youth, he says this, likewise, you who are younger, be subject to the elders. This is, I think, the fourth time in the book that Peter has told someone to be subject. He spoke to citizens and servants and to wives, be subject, be subject, be subject. Now he says to those who are younger, when it comes to the elders in the church, be subject to the elders. You get a sense that Peter really sees godly authority as an important thing. And we are to respect that. But finally, Peter addresses all. And listen to what he says. This is so important. All of you, so no matter whether you're an elder or you're a youth or you're anyone in the church, whoever you are, clothe yourself with humility. Drape humility around yourself when it comes to how you relate to one another. Oh, it's so possible for us as Christians to treat other Christians as though I know better than you and I always know what's right. May God give us grace to treat one another with humility, no matter who we are in the church. Why? Because God opposes the proud, but instead he gives grace to those who are humble. And so here are Peter's words for how Christians in the church should treat one another. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again next time.